Hello, welcome to YSI, Yoga Studies Institute. My name is Alfonso, and today we're having a 45-minute moving in alignment class. We're going to be exploring the Sanskrit word abhyasa. This class is perfectly suited for beginner students that want to learn the foundations of an alignment-based yoga asana practice, but it's also perfectly suited for intermediate students that want to deepen their understanding on the foundations of an alignment-based yoga asana practice. Great. Today, we're going to be exploring the Sanskrit word abhyasa. And abhyasa can be translated simply as practice. In verse 13 of the first chapter of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, he says, Tatra Stitau yat nobhyasa. And that can translate as, if you practice and you strive, you can take you to that place where you can be there. And when I read it, I was like, beware. And I like to think that it's being in that place where you can be free of misunderstanding and understanding where things are really coming from. And in order to achieve that practice in itself or that goal, one has to really invest oneself in our practice. I mean, if you think of it, it's really hard to accomplish anything at all if we don't practice it, right? And that comes back to this this famous phrase of the 10,000 hour rule, meaning that we need around 10,000 hours of practicing something in order to master it. And I mean, depending on what we want to master, it can take a little bit less or a little bit more, a little bit longer. But the point is that if we really want to accomplish anything, then we have to be very steady and dedicated to our practice. If we practice once every blue moon, I mean, we're not going to really attain the results that we want from the practice. And if we stop our practice altogether, then it takes a lot of time to practice again to be at the place where we were when we left off, and then practice again even more to accomplish anything. So take in mind how practice is the essence of taking us in the direction of the goals that we want to achieve. So for today's practice, see to what extent investing your time in your practice today, it's helping your practice be more consistent, more steady, and then you're investing on those 10,000 hours or whatever hours you need to continue to invest in your practice, to be closer to the goal of becoming who you want to become, who you want to be. Okay? Great. So let's start. Let's make sure that we're in a comfortable sitting pose, that our spine is long and straight, that the back of the neck is long, and simply allow your eyes to close. We're going to take an instant to create the foundational space for our practice, where we go inside to connect with the experience of our breath, connecting to the present moment through our breath, as we simply allow our awareness to feel the experience of our breath. If the mind resists, simply recognize that tendency, and then with softness, coming back to the breath as many times as you need to. And as the breath becomes more available as you connect with your breath, allowing the body to settle, allowing the mind to settle, creating softness in and around the face, the eyes, the point in between the eyebrows, corners of the mouth and fingers. And simply for some breaths or so, allowing the experience to unfold. And then inviting your hands to come together to the center of the chest. Opening the space for a practice with the sound Om one time. Inhale. Simply allowing your hands to release, your eyes to open, and allowing yourself to smile. Great. So for today's class, I'm going to be using a couple of blocks and a folded blanket. I really feel that the blocks help us with the alignment. And for having a folded blanket nearby is also great support for practice. So if you need to get anything, please pause. I will wait for you here and then get everything you need. And then be ready to start. Okay, so let's start. So let's make sure that our blocks are to the sides of the front of our mat. We keep our blanket handy, and then we come towards the back of the mat. Knees are mat width apart, big toes touching, heels apart, and then allowing the pelvis to settle towards the heels. And keeping the pelvis as settled as we can nutate our pelvis slightly, tilting our pelvis, lengthening, bringing the forehead against the mat. Inviting the skin of the forehead to slide towards the nose. Working our hands. Then spread our fingers, root the hands, making sure the hands are shoulder width apart. You can engage your hands against the mat. As we root our hands, the arms can extend, slightly bracing our hands against the mat to bring the pelvis slightly more in contact with the heels. Feeling the hip creases and sides of the torso extend. Keeping the hands rooted, arms long. The next inhale, lifting the head slightly, the torso and pelvis, keeping the hands rooted, bringing the knees hip width apart, tucking the toes under. And then bringing the pelvis back towards the heels, feeling the soles of the feet extend, aligning the ears with the arms. And then keeping the upper body as still as we can. Inhale. And then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh, lengthening the legs, lifting the pelvis. Coming into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Refining briefly, inhale, tips of the toes. Lifting the hip creases as high up as we can, bringing the pelvis up, the torso slightly towards the thighs as we keep the lower backs towards the back. And then keeping the pelvis as high up as we can, exhaling, lengthening the heels towards the floor. Feeling the length of the calves, the pelvis lifting. Inhale again, tips of the toes. Unrolling vertebra by vertebrae, coming into the plank pose. Top of the head unrolls last. And then inhaling, lowering the pelvis, opening the chest, broadening the collarbones. And then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh. Hip crease up, heels down. And again, warm up wave. Inhale, tips of the toes, exhaling and rolling. Top of the head unrolls last. And then inhale, lower the pelvis, open the chest, active legs. And exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh. Hip crease up, heels down. Inhale, bending the legs, looking in between your hands. On a walk, or step, go between your hands. Long back parallel to the floor. Top of the head moving away from the pelvis, long legs, open chest. And then exhaling, bringing the belly slightly towards the thighs, releasing the arms, releasing the head. Lengthening the legs, interlacing the finger over the back, projecting the arms forward and up. Toes are soft, arches of the feet are lifting. Breathing into the backs of the legs, the calves, backs of the thighs, back of the pelvis. Shoulder blades, arms, shoulders, back of the neck. Switching the crossing of the fingers, projecting the arms.
And then keeping the arms, more so the shoulders, away from the ears. I'm going to release the arms towards the floor. Inhale, long back, parallel to the floor. Exhale, belly to the thighs. And then inhaling, lengthening the back of the pelvis to the floor. Arms to the sides, open chest, broad collarbones, arms up. Keeping the arms lengthening, we're going to settle the shoulders. You're in Tadasana. Interlacing the fingers, projecting the palms of the hands. Inhale, engage the thighs. Exhale, moving towards the right. Pelvis aligned, armpits aligned. Inhale, back to center. Palms of the hands parallel, changing the crossing. Projecting the palms of the hands, engaging the thighs. Exhale, left. Pelvis aligned, armpits aligned. Inhale, back to center. Palms of the hands parallel, engaging the thighs. Exhale, up and over. Different thighs. Forward bend. Uttanasana. Inhale, long back parallel to the floor. Exhale, belly to the thighs. And then inhale, lengthening the back of the pelvis to the floor, arms to the sides. Open chest, broad collarbones, arms up. And then exhaling, hands together in the center of the chest. Releasing the arms to the sides. Taking an instant to settle in your Tadasana. Finding your alignment. Long spine, settle shoulders, back of the neck long. Inhale. Exhale, hands together in the center of the chest. Take an instant to bring your awareness where you want your awareness to be. Coming back into Abhyasa, your practice. Noticing how this practice is nourishing your practice time and creating a more constant flow of practice in your life. Inhale. In the softness of the exhale, lengthening the arms up. Inhale, engage the thighs. Exhale, up and over your firm thighs. Forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, long back, parallel to the floor. Exhale, belly to your thighs. Hands on the mat. Right and left foot back, Padakasana back pose. With the exhale, either Chaturanga Dandasana or directly lowering the pelvis, opening the chest, broadening the collarbones. And then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh, hip crease up, heels up. Keeping the thighs engaged, keeping the left thigh engaged. Exhale, lengthen the right leg towards the back wall. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right foot in between the hands. And from here you can grab your blocks. That height is best. Or keeping your hands on the mat, whatever is best. But make sure you have the height that's best. The knees aligned with the ankle. Inside of the thighs lifting. Elbow creases moving forward. Spine lengthening. Great. Stabilize. And once you stabilize your legs by holding an imaginary block, you can bring both hands on top of the thigh and the chest. Inhale, release the shoulders. In the softness of the exhale, lengthening the arms up. Face soft, chest soft. Inner smile. Inhale. Exhale. Hands on the blocks. You can bring the blocks to the lowest height. Stabilize. Make sure the left hand, the left wrist is under the left shoulder. Bring in the right hand behind the pelvis. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, turn in the belly, ribcage and chest. Lengthen the right arm up. Face soft, chest soft. Inner smile. And then inhaling, coming back to center. Moving the blocks to the sides. Hands on the mat. Right foot back. Padakasana plank pose. Exhale, either Chaturanga Dandasana. Directly lower the pelvis, open the chest, burn the collarbones. And then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh. Hip crease up, heels down. Now keeping the right thigh fully engaged, Exhale, lengthen the left leg towards the back wall. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, left foot in between the hands. Come into your pose. Grab your blocks at the height that's best. Make sure the elbow creases are moving forward. Back leg is lifting. Top of the head moving away from the pelvis, long neck. Stabilize your legs by holding an imaginary block in between your thighs. And then from here, bringing both hands on top of the thigh. Open the chest, bring the pelvis forward. Inhale, release the arms to the sides. In the softness of the out breath, lengthening the arms up. Face soft, chest soft. Inner smile. Inhale. And then exhale. Hands on the blocks. Stabilize. Then bringing your blocks down to the other side. Make sure the right wrist is on the right shoulder. And then bring your left hand behind the pelvis. Inhale, lengthen the spine. And then exhaling, turn in the belly, ribcage and chest. And then lengthening your left arm up. Face soft, just soft. Inner smile. And then inhaling back to center. Stabilize. Move your blocks to the sides, hands on the mat. Left foot back, Balasana plank pose. Exhale the Chaturanga Dandasana. Directly over the pelvis and the chest. Burning the collarbone. And then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh, hip crease up, heels down. Keeping the left thigh fully engaged. Exhale, lengthen the right leg towards the back wall. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right foot in between the hands. Again, you can walk your block, you can grab your blocks. Foundation pose on the right side. Without walking the back foot, you're going to bring the left heel to the center of the mat. Arch of the foot and the back foot moving away from the floor. Buttock moving into the groin. Knee on top of the ankle. You can walk your blocks to the side. And then with the inhale, coming up into a warrior two. Virabhadrasana. We're going to wake up the arms. Turning the palms of the hands up. And then keeping the elbow creases up. Turning just the palms of the hands down. Inhale. And then exhale, lengthening your leg. Turn myself to see slightly better. So you're lengthening your leg on Virabhadrasana. And then from here, you're going to turn the right foot. So we're coming into a wide stance. You want to make sure that the heels are aligned in the same line. And you want to make sure the outside of the feet are lengthening. Keep the arms up. Keep the collarbones lengthening. Inhale. And then exhaling, lengthening the arms up. Keeping the sides of the torso long. Inhale. Exhale. Bring your hands in your waist. Inhale. Engage your thighs. Exhale. Up and over. Firm thighs. Into forward bend. Wide-legged forward bend. Prasarita Uttanasana. Releasing your hands. Grabbing the backs of your heels. Backs of your ankles. Backs of your calves. Lengthening the spine. Top of the head down. Pelvis lifting. Keeping the left hand on your left ankle, heel, calf, inhale. And then with the exhale, bending the left leg, lengthening the right leg and bringing the forearm towards the foot on the mat or on the block if you need a block. And inhale, long back, parallel to the floor. And then with the exhale, you're going to bring both hands on your right ankle. And then lengthening. On a diagonal, bringing your torso and navel slightly towards your right thigh. Arches of the feet moving away from the floor. Feeling the right thigh lengthening. Or 2 full breaths. And then inhale, long back, parallel to the floor. Now you're going to turn the right foot to the front of the mat. One hand on each side, turn the back foot towards the back. One foot back, Balasana back pose. Exhale, either Chaturanga Dandasana, directly lower the pelvis, open the chest, broaden the collarbones. And then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh to the back of the thigh, hip crease up, heels down. Now, keeping your right thigh engaged. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen the left leg towards the back wall. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, left foot between your hands. You can grab your blocks if you want to check your foundation pose. Make sure the left knee is on top of the ankle. Making sure that the top of the head is moving away from the pelvis. The inner thigh lifting. And then without walking the back foot, you're going to bring the right heel to the center of the mat. So the arch of the foot is moving away from the mat. Heels aligned, buttock moving into the groin. Move your box slightly towards the sides, and with the inhale, coming up into Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2 pose. Let's create some length on the sides of the torso. So lengthen your arms up, keeping the armpits away from the pelvis. Exhale, release your arms, palms of the hands up, keeping the elbow creases up, bringing just the palms of the hands down. Great. Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2 pose. Face soft, just soft. Inner smile. Recognizing your practice and how this practice is creating steadiness in your practice. Inhale. Exhale, lengthening the front leg. And then turning the left foot. So you're coming into a wide stance. Okay. On your wide stance again, check that your feet are aligned with the outside of the mat. That the heels are aligned in the same line. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, arms up. Keeping the sides of the torso long. Inhale. Exhale, bringing your hands on your waist. Inhale, open the chest. Broaden the collarbones. And then exhale, up and over your thighs. Coming into a forward bend, Prasita Uttanasana. You can grab the backs of your ankles, backs of your heels. And again, using the traction of your hands to bring the shoulders away from the ears. And now keeping your right hand on your right ankle, heel or calf, inhale. And then exhale, bending the right leg, lengthening the left leg, arching the foot away from the floor. And then bringing the forearm on the mat towards the foot, against the block or against the mat. Feeling the entire left side, inside of the leg, lengthening. And then inhale, long back, parallel to the floor, creating length. And then exhaling, bringing both hands towards your left ankle, heel, calf. Lengthening the spine and bringing the torso, chest slightly towards your left thigh. Feeling the left thigh lengthening, arch of the feet lifting. One more full breath. And then inhale, long back, parallel to the floor. And now we're going to turn the left foot towards the front of the mat. One hand on each side of the foot. Turning the right foot, left foot back. Balasana plank pose. Exhale the Chaturanga Dandasana, directly lowering the pelvis, opening the chest, broadening the collarbones, and then exhaling, pushing the front of the thigh, back of the thigh, hip crease up, heels down. Then inhaling, bending your legs, looking in between your hands, walk or step into sitting pose. You're going to lengthen your legs. And this is where the folded blanket might be useful to create a nutation, the tilt in your pelvis. So by sitting on a blanket, you can invite the pelvis to create a slight forward tilt if you need to. Make sure you take the skin of the buttocks down, so you're sitting on your sitting bones. If you're using the blankets, ideally the sitting bones are against the mat, and it's just the back of the pelvis that's being propped with the blankets. Keep it of the blocks to the sides, bringing the hands to the sides. Inhale, exhale, opening your legs, making sure that our heels are aligned in the same line. And you can lengthen our spine. And then from here, you have the sensation that the thighs are pushing down against the mat. As you keep the sensation that the heels want to move away from the pelvis as the legs lengthen and become engaged. Okay? So get a deep inhale. With the exhale, lengthening the arms up. Inhale, lengthen the sides of the torso. Exhale, turning the belly, ribcage, and chest slightly towards the right, and then up and over the firm thighs, coming onto our foot, ankle, calf, whatever's best. Avoiding pulling, coming back, lengthening the spine, back of the neck. And then without pulling, just supporting, keeping that sensation of length, as with every inhale, the top of the head moves away from the pelvis. And with every exhale, the navel moves slightly down towards the thigh. Every inhale, the spine lengthens. Every exhale, we release. The navel slightly towards the thigh. Keeping the left leg fully active, creating length. You're welcome to stay here for some more breaths. If you want to try slight variation, you can bring your right forearm on the inside of the leg against the floor, and then lengthening your left arm towards the side so you can feel the entire left side lengthening. Whatever variation is best for you. Feel the left side lengthen as you continue to lengthen. Open and breathe. And with inhale, coming back to center, lengthening the arms, engage the thighs, refine. And then exhale, turning the belly, ribcage, and chest, coming up and over the left leg to wherever we feel comfortable. Lengthening the spine, back of the neck. And without pulling again, keeping the right leg active. Inhale, feel the length of the spine, top of the head moving away from the pelvis. And then exhaling, feeling the release of the navel moving slightly towards the thigh. Every inhale, lengthening. Every exhale, releasing. You're welcome to stay here for some more breaths. We can go into the variation, whatever seems best for you. So you can stay here, or you can bring the left forearm on the inside of the left leg against the floor, and then turning the torso to lengthen the right arm, feeling the entire right side lengthening. So whatever variation is best for you, but keeping the length on the side, keeping the engagement of the legs, the length of the legs, face soft, chest soft, inner smile. And inhale, coming back to center. Lengthen the arms, lengthen the spine, engage the thighs. And then exhale up and over your thighs. Coming halfway, then bringing your hands back. Coming into the tips of the fingers. And you want to feel as if you position your hands in a way where you can push from the tips of your fingers. Pushing your hands, like you're pushing the floor away from your pelvis towards the back. And then using that traction to open the chest, exhale the shoulders, and have the sensation that the top of the head is moving away from the pelvis. At the same time, the navel is coming down to that space in between the thighs. As you continue to breathe, to allow the pose to unfold, as you create that traction from that push of your fingers and that length. And then keeping the sensation of push from your arms, from your hands. You can come to whatever comfortable variation seems appropriate for you, bringing the forearms or the hands, or bringing the entire body down. But whatever you're doing, keep the sensation that you have those imaginary hands and fingers that continue to push. So you keep that sensation of length of the spine moving away from the pelvis, and with the exhale, that sensation of the navel slightly releasing to that space between your legs. Find a place where you're comfortable. You continue to lengthen with every inhale, using the leverage of your imaginary arms and hands, pushing from the back. And with the exhale, releasing the navel slightly to that space. For 3 more breaths. With the next inhale, lengthening the arms forward and up. And releasing the sides of the torso. And using the support of your hands to bring your legs towards each other. You can get rid of the blanket behind. And then you come into a balancing pose, balancing our pelvis. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet towards each other. And we're going to grab with our hands the outsides of our feet. And we want to lift our feet slightly. So you really want to feel that your both sitting bones are equally settled against the floor. And then you want to grab the outsides of your feet, soles of the feet together, so you can open the chest and feel the spine that lengthens. And you can feel the balance on your sitting bones. And this is a variation. You can stay here and breathe. If you feel comfortable, you might want to lift one of your foots while keeping the leg bent, or lift the second and keeping the legs bent, opening the chest. And if you feel comfortable here, maybe you can lengthen one of your legs and lengthen the other leg and come into Upavishta Konasana bit. As you can smile, lengthen the legs. Whatever variation you're in, take 3 deep breaths, soften the glance,
Soften your eyes, inner smile. And then slowly, softly, bending the legs, coming down. And then as you come down, keep your blocks handy. And then using your hands and your forearms, come down against the mat. Bringing the head down. Grabbing the top of the shin bones to feel the entire back settling against the mat. And then with control, releasing the feet against the mat. Make sure the heels are close enough so you can touch the heels with the longest of your fingers, holding an imaginary block between your thighs, keeping the real blocks handy. Inhale, lengthening the arms, keeping that sensation of length in the arms. Exhaling, bringing the elbows against the mat, next to the ribs, opening the chest, broadening the collarbones, keeping an imaginary block in between the thighs. Inhale. And in the softness of the exhale from the outer thighs, lifting the pelvis up. Pelvis lifting. You can use the leverage of your arms, interlacing the fingers, bringing the shoulder blades towards each other as you allow the pelvis to lift. Change the crossing, projecting the pelvis up. You can stay here. You can decide to come into a supported variation of Settupanda Sarvangasana, supported bridge pose. So placing a block at the highest height that's best for you, under the sacrum, on the flat bone on the back of the pelvis. Releasing your arms and simply allowing the breath to deepen as we release some of the forward bending work that we've done today with the supported back extension, back bend. For 3 more breaths, allow the support to take place, the chest to open. And then we're gonna come down gradually, like we're coming down the stairs. You're gonna lift the pelvis, bring the block down 1 height, and then bring in the pelvis against the block. We're taking 1 full breath. Then again, lifting the pelvis, bringing the block down 1 more height if it's the case, and taking 1 full breath. And then finally, lifting the pelvis, getting rid of the block, and lengthening the back of the pelvis towards the heels. Settling the pelvis. Now soles of the feet together. Opening the knees to the sides. Supporting the outer thighs with the blocks. Lengthening the back of the pelvis towards the heels so the lower ribs can come down. Creating a natural lumbar curve. Even if the thighs lift slightly, you adjust the support. And then the support of the thighs, ideally if the muscles of the body are supported with the bones or with the floor or with the blocks, there's a tendency of the deep tissue of the muscle to soften and release. So if you can support your thighs, if they're not supported with the floor, that's going to help the deep muscle tissue in your adductors and in and around your groins to soften and release, instead of continuing to be tensed and gripped when they have no support. So allow your breath to deepen. Come back to that softness in and around the eyes, the pointing between the eyebrows, the corners of the mouth, the jaw, the fingers. Remembering how as we soften and release the tongue to the floor of the mouth, we induce some softness and relaxation in and around the jaw, which in turn is transferred to a softness and release in and around the pelvis. So soften your tongue, release the tongue, soften the jaw, and invite the pelvis to release. So allow the breath to deepen, the pose to unfold, creating softness for 3 more full deep breaths. And with the next inhale, with the help of your hands, adjust slowly, bringing your thighs towards each other. Releasing the blocks to the sides. Keeping your knees together, your feet together. And then cross the right knee over the left knee. Using the left foot to square the pelvis towards the right. And then allowing your legs to fall towards the left as you open your arms perpendicular to your torso. If you decide, you can brace the outside of the knee slightly with the left hand, turning your face in the opposite direction of your legs, allowing the breath to deepen, the pose to unfold as you continue to soften and allow, continuing to take insights on your practice. And then inhaling, going back to center. Squaring the pelvis, decrossing the legs, crossing the left leg over the right leg. Inhale, exhale, squaring the pelvis towards the left, and then allowing the legs to fall to the right. And again, you can brace slightly. Also, you can support the floating knee if you wish with a block. Allowing the breath to deepen, the pose to unfold. So continue to soften and allow. And then inhale back to center. Square your pelvis, recross your legs. Consider your blocks. You can bring your knees to your chest. You can rock slightly to the left and to the right. Massaging the back of the pelvis, the lower back. You make circles with the knees together. To create a little bit more of contact with the lower back against the mat and the back of the pelvis. And whenever we're ready, we're transitioning into Shavasana for the final relaxation. Find the variation that's best for you in Shavasana. Whatever variation that might be, whatever support. You might want to have a blanket behind the head, support the blocks at your knees, whatever variation of Shavasana is best for you. Through stillness and relaxation, we're going to invite the well-being of our practice to be integrated in every cell of our body. So find your pose and then make sure your body is symmetrically settling towards the floor. So both left and right leg, both sides of the pelvis, both arms, both hands, both shoulders, both sides of the back of the head, equally settling towards the floor. Come back to your breath. Come back to the softness in and around your eyes, pointing between the eyebrows, the jaw, the tongue, corners of the mouth, fingers. Come back to that space of presence that allows the experience to unfold. As you recognize how this practice continues to nourish your practice time, investing in your practice account, and making it that your practice become more steady, more continuous, and more profound. Finding your stillness, and allowing your entire body to be fully relaxed. Softly allow your breath to deepen. Get in contact with the space, the sounds around you. Start activating your toes and your fingers. Take a deep in breath. The exhale, lengthening in both directions, arms back, feet forward, lengthen, stretch. Exhale, release, bend your legs, your knees to your chest. You can roll to the side in a fetal pose. Taking one breath here. And then whenever you're ready, using your hands and arms to come back up. Finding a sitting pose, finding the support that you may need, whatever you might need, and then preparing to end up our practice. Sharing the benefit of our practice, bringing the hands together in the center of the chest. Let any good thing awakened by this practice be shared by all the beings in the universe. Inhale. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.